Hey everybody, and welcome back to your Pennsylvania Dutch Minute. Boy, things look different this time, don't they? I've invited a special guest on for this episode and a follow-up episode. This is the lovely and talented Mrs. Madenford. She's joining us today to talk about a topic that I got some questions about, so I thought I'd like to go to someone that has first-hand knowledge. So the question is, what's it like for somebody to marry into the Pennsylvania Dutch culture? Now, as a little bit of background, Mrs. Madenford, Jessica, was born and raised in central Pennsylvania, and both sides of her family tree are ethnically Pennsylvania Dutch, but since the region where she grew up has kind of divorced themselves, so to speak, from the old traditions and customs of where I grew up in southeastern Pennsylvania, people might claim to be, oh, my grandmother was Pennsylvania Dutch, but the language has been gone in this part of the state for quite a long time, and a lot of the old traditions have also kind of died out because of mixing with Scotch-Irish and just the way the history was here for central Pennsylvania, in north central Pennsylvania to be specific. So Jessica was kind of thrown into it by marrying me, and I thought we'd have a little bit of a conversation today, and nothing's been rehearsed. She doesn't know what questions are coming at her, but I'll let her talk. So Jessica, what was it like for you being kind of like thrown into Pennsylvania Dutch culture and language by marrying me or meeting me?
Well, there were definitely some differences that I noticed right away, like how you guys you were speaking a lot in Pennsylvania Dutch, and you would go back and forth between English and Pennsylvania Dutch, and you were able to bring me into some of those cultural practices. For instance, I think the biggest thing would have been, aside from learning some bits and pieces of the language, trying out some of the food dishes. That was definitely something that was...
Which food dishes were not new to you?
Okay, well, let's start there.
Yeah.
So some things that were not new would have included... The first one would have been what I call pickled eggs, but my husband has been very adamant about making sure that I say red beet eggs.
Right.
Sometimes I'll let it slip, and I say pickled eggs because that's what I grew up with. What else? And we've had other pickled things too.
What about food that was new to you?
Okay, so corn pie. Never would have imagined that corn would go into a pie. Cottage cheese custard or cottage cheese pie, and that has become a really, like, that top of the list.
Staple?
Yes, that's been a staple. We use that to introduce some of that
guests that come to our house. Yeah.
And then probably the oddest one for me was the stuffed pig stomach. Nope, I was not
You weren't raised with that?
Nope.
But she eats it and loves it.
Yeah, it is. It's delicious.
Okay, so we got foods now. What about other cultural traditions that maybe you found odd, or ones that you think are really cool that we do that that you find neat maybe?
Another thing I think that this probably comes from the German roots was that they're very open and they don't hold back in telling you how they feel, whether that is that they are happy or frustrated, angry, or just have an opinion that they need to share. Yeah. That's definitely something that I had to get used to, because I have always been one to hold back everything or only talk about certain things with certain people. So I have definitely, that has been a piece, an adjustment, but I've also grown from that in a positive way. I'm able to communicate better because I have to.
Do even though you ethnically you are Pennsylvania Dutch, do you feel that you've become more connected with your past through all of this?
Yeah, I guess so. But not deeply rooted like you are.
Okay. Huh? Okay. We just want to do a quick short interview. Yeah, no, that's fine. And I can't think of any other questions off the top of my head. We're going to do a follow-up video on another topic similar to this. But if you guys have questions for Mrs. Madenford, just leave them in the comments down below. And then I'll let you guys know. Maybe we'll do a follow-up video to maybe further questions that you might have, and we'll bring her back on as a guest. It was a pleasure having her here.
Thanks. I don't think it was that exciting.
It's not supposed to be exciting. It's supposed to be educational, right?
Oh, okay.
And hear your opinion. Okay. If you have an idea for a future video, you have to email, let us know, and we'll get that going. Until next time,
Mock
Scoot.
Scoot.